Hello. Welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. Zach and Alex are back with you as always. Happy Pride Month once again. It's all month long. Happy Pride Month again.
Oh, you have a flag.
All the really gay Ryan Blaney fans celebrating.
Happy Pride, Blaney Nation.
Celebrating a win, finally. We got to talk about that. And we actually, again, another episode where we kind of have a lot to talk about with the T. Of course, NASCAR had their historic inaugural race at Iowa. I didn't really realize how big of a deal that was until NBC kind of like made me realize how big of a deal it was, because there were people in the area waiting for that race to happen for years and years and years. So we'll talk about that, NASCAR at Iowa. A lot of tea with IndyCar. Their schedule came out. Their new TV deal with Fox was announced. We have a lot of thoughts about that. I left my house Saturday night and went to the local short track. I saw the Cars Tour race at Dominion Raceway here in Virginia. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. We'll talk a little bit about Le Mans, some NASCAR silly season, and then we'll look forward to next weekend at New Hampshire and Laguna Seca. So welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. Hi, guys.
Yes,
Blaney Nation is here. We should have had Brooke come on. So
honestly, we should have.
Every time Blaney wins, we just have
Brooke come on. Yeah, we should have.
Shout out to Brooke.
Man, I want to say I grew up in Iowa, so Iowa Speedway was always such a big deal, and for it to finally get a cup race, it is a big deal, Zach. And I mean, I'm kind of bummed it didn't go. I decided not to because one, we thought it would get suck. And then we saw what they did with the repave. I was like, oh, I made the right decision. But I'm really glad this turned out to be a really good race because those Iowa fans have been waiting for so long.
God.
And you have people that were from the Dakotas, North and South Dakota. You had people from Minnesota who probably have never gone to a NASCAR Cup race before because the closest one was either Chicago or Kansas. And that's like a 6 to 8 hour drive for many of those people, maybe more. It's huge. I think it is very warranted, and I'm so glad this turned out to be a great race.
It was a sellout. I mean, build it and they will come. That's kind of the phrase with this Iowa Speedway racetrack. When they made it in the middle of nowhere, both of us have been to that track. I went to see IndyCar there, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And we kind of talked about it on that episode after the 2022 IndyCar race. You know, could they ever have a cup event here? Well, if they do what they did for IndyCar, have all this extra stuff, the extra grandstands, make it a true event, then perhaps they can. And we saw a lot of there was a lot of Iowa corn stuff at the racetrack, like mascots, and they had little educational things. So, why corn's so important to the economy. And it's just in NBC's little intro video about Iowa fans that again, they've been waiting for this race to happen for years and years and years, all culminating to Rusty Wallace being a part of the command, he designed the racetrack.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. It makes me really happy that Iowa Speedway is just, it got to experience this moment. This was the biggest race Iowa Speedway's ever had,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And, it was a pretty good show, honestly. It wasn't a typical short track next gen race. There was a lot of passing. There were some tire concerns, as we saw kind of building from the practice that we saw on Friday. And the repave, this race definitely exceeded our expectations because, as you said, the repave looked stupid.
Well, Zach, I think the expectations were on the floor because of the current state of this car on tracks like this. Look at Richmond, for example. This track, I would say, is a sister track to Richmond.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be rough. They repaved the corners and really weird. They didn't do the full corner.
They just did where there were some
holes. It was very weird. And then you go into practice and they're blowing tires every 5 minutes. It's just this is setting up to be potentially a disaster for Iowa Speedway's first race. People were comparing it this is going to be Kentucky 2011 with all the traffic issues that race had. But none of that happened. And I think a tire thing is because they actually got a full practice session and the teams were able to make adjustments and prepare for that. If they had no practice, I think this would have been rough, at least the first half of it.
And that practice was so nice because it let the storyline be built up. we wouldn't have been talking. What would we have been talking about before the race started? Like, I don't know. Like, you can only talk about how this is Iowa Speedway's first race for so long, right? The tire issues was such an interesting storyline throughout the weekend. Why can't we just have a 50-minute practice every weekend?
Right.
Like, come on. Not? It's just you're not saving that much money or time even. Like,
yeah,
it's just ridiculous. So we just need this practice to be standard at all races.
Right. And we also, as you said, the storylines, like this was NBC's first race of the season, and they told the storylines all weekend long. And it was so fun to follow. I don't think they really missed much of anything, honestly.
Like,
and I don't want to get in. Right. Yeah. I don't want to get too into it, as we talk about all the time, but like it was so refreshing because it felt like the TV partner actually cared about what they were broadcasting. It was great. It was great.
And I'm not even trying to take anything away from NBC, but they did the bare minimum. Not the bare minimum, but they did, because they had that extra stuff in like stage 2 with the Marty was hanging out in the 20 team. But like they did basically what you expect from a sports broadcast, especially at the top level. And then it's still like Fox is still like all the way down here. Like it's so much better than Fox. That's just how like far fallen Fox is.
And
like we forgot what a NASCAR broadcast is supposed to look like.
For sure. And I could give 2 criticisms, and it was one at the end. They were showing the Blaney family like a little too much at the end.
That was
and
typical.
2, that was so weird. It was very typical. But also the weird focus on Corey LaJoie. I don't know. That's basically the Santino Ferrucci thing they do with IndyCar. I don't get it. But outside of that, I have no complaints.
Yeah, like the Corey LaJoie thing, it was a little weird. I mean, he was kind of running up there, I guess. And then they also had like the all access to the 17. Maybe that was why they were talking about him a lot.
Right. But I liked that stuff. I liked it
specifically
really cool. With the 20 team. I love that they were just interviewing the crew chiefs and just being like, right there. Like it was cool.
It's another layer to engage with the live race, not a stupid little bit or little advertisement for a podcast.
Right.
I could go. It was just so refreshing. Wow.
Yep.
That's what a broadcast should look like for NASCAR. And bravo,
for
NBC. Sure. I mean,
and
yeah.
Well, bravo also to Ryan Blaney. As you said, Zach, he did win this race. This was the most dominant race of his career. He has never led this many laps in a race before. He led 57% of the laps in this race. And look, I think this is redemption from Gateway, obviously. But again, it shows he still has that mentality that he had for the late last season, where he's not going to beat himself up over something that happened a race or 2 ago. He's able to regroup now and keep pushing, and he did it in a big way. And that's how you win championships. That's how he won a championship. And I was talking to Brooke. You mentioned Brooke a few minutes ago. If this would have happened 3-4 years ago, Blaney would have ran 25th all day because he was still upset over Gateway. But he's moved on. And he had, I would say, the second best car at minimum at Iowa. And it was very cool. And it was very special to him with all of his family that was there.
Yeah. It does remind me of, how he was winning races to win the championship last year, because we don't see dominant wins like this a lot, to be honest. Like in NASCAR today, like even if Larson dominates a race, something happens. So it's very impressive that the 12 team was able to hold it together. Everyone was having tire issues and stuff. They took 2 tires on the last stop, and they were able to hold off. That. Yeah, they were able to hold off a late charge from Byron. It didn't get that close, but still. And
within half a second.
That was impressive. I mean, that was really impressive. And it's, we've been seeing Penske get some speed since, I mean, this last month or so. Logano was running up there. Of course, Cindric won at Gateway. All of them were running good at Gateway. Another kind of shorter, flatter, like intermediate short track-ish type of track. And they're fast. And I mean, are we looking at a Team Penske three-peat, Alex, for the championship?
Why not?
These are the tracks you got to be good at. And, I mean, yes, the 5 team was pretty fast. The 24 team showed a lot of speed tonight, too. The 20 team overcame a lot of struggles. They're going to be fast if they get back to Phoenix. But, man, that 12 team, they looked a little unbeatable last night.
If you include the All-Star race, all 3 Team Penske drivers have won a race in the past month. That is a statement, and the 3 tracks they won at are all very similar to Phoenix.
That's true.
And that, again, is where they really do need to be strongest if they make it to the championship 4. I think at least for the 2 and the 22, the hardest part is getting that far. I mean, I think Blaney is probably still the best of that team at the moment. But still, if they get there, I find it hard at this current moment to bet against them. I really do.
Yeah. What you said is key. It's all about just getting there, because these playoffs, these are going to be the most chaotic playoffs ever. And Logano, for example, he's still having trouble getting into the cut line. Right? He's still, I think he's outside the cut line to Bubba Wallace right now. So there's still some things that 22 team needs to focus on specifically, but 12 teams looking great.
For sure. And Ford has just completely turned things around. We've kind of seen it gradually happen, but this past month, like I said, Penske's, all 3 of their drivers have won a race. I mean, the SHR cars don't look horrific anymore. Josh Berry led quite a few laps in this race. This is by far his best race of his Cup career. It's very impressive.
Something out. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it honestly since, I feel like, low-key Darlington, since Brad won at Darlington.
Right.
Like, they've just been consistently running up front, or at least one of their teams is running up front instead of it just being a Hendrick JGR domination. Yeah. There's still some speed to be found, of course, but they're winning races now, which is important. I mean, these teams are going to need playoff points, and I'm interested to see, like, once we get back to, because again, I don't even know how they ran at Charlotte, like these more intermediate tracks, but again, these short tracks, which they were kind of already pretty good at, like last year. It's good news if you're a Ford fan, which I am. So
yeah. And what's interesting about Josh Berry is that he and Rodney Childers have been very vocal that they would like to stay together.
I think that's really cute.
It is cute. At whatever team decides to pick Berry up. Like, my prediction would be front row, but like, I wouldn't count out Wood Brothers.
I saw a really cool graphic with Wood Brothers might actually go hard. Actually, if you want to get that 100th win, that might be what you need to do, Wood Brothers.
And hey, Team Penske, that's a Team Penske car basically. Get Rodney Childers under the Team Penske banner. They might never stop winning these championships.
They're sweeping the decade. That's actually, I actually kind of want that to happen now. Rest in peace, Harrison. I love you, but like, oh my God, that would actually kind of be tough.
Yeah, it would.
Front row has a Penske alliance anyways. I'll tell you what though.
True.
To be Josh Berry and for Rodney Childers to want you, because Rodney Childers is one of the most successful crew chiefs in the garage at the moment, right?
Yep.
Or at least like he's the most, I guess, talented or whatever. It's hard to his results are weird because Harvick only won 1 championship, but
the thing is with Rodney Childers, he took that Michael Waltrip Racing 55 car to victory lane with Mark Martin and Brian Vickers, for example.
Not Mark Martin.
I think he was on Mark Martin, right?
Yeah, but Mark Martin didn't win.
In the 55. Won. He was contending for wins with Mark Martin, Noah. Yes. What I mean.
Yeah,
but
he was fast.
Brian Vickers did win.
But like, to be Josh Berry, a rookie, and I know Josh Berry's like older, and maybe that's why Rodney likes him so much, because he just sees the talent in Josh Berry. For Rodney Childers to want you as a rookie, like, that's like, what? Me? You want me? Oh, Rodney. They're happy Pride Month to Josh Berry and Rodney Childers. I love them so much. They are a match made in heaven. I hope they stay together. Love wins, right?
Love wins. But yeah, that's really cool. And on the flip side of things, there was this moment in the race where the strategy kind of got all flipped on its head when NASCAR weirdly threw a caution for Daniel Hemrick getting up high on the wall with the tire issue.
It was really just like what happened at Richmond. When Kyle Busch barely hit the wall, and then they threw the caution in the middle of stage 2, the exact thing happened.
But the thing is, like, right before this, several guys had the tire issues, and like Eric Jones, I think, which is like 2 laps prior or something, also hit the wall. And
Eric Jones had the tire coming apart. Like,
yeah,
like it was a big deal. And when they didn't throw a caution for Jones, I was like, okay, so they want this cycle to go all the way through. Okay, I get it.
And then they're like, oh, never mind.
Caution.
We're going to throw yellow for that. And By the way, NBC ended up finding a replay of Hemrick hitting the wall, but I didn't think they would because, like, who has a camera on the 31 car? But apparently they did. But
other organizations would have not had a camera on the 31 car. They would have had one on the fans.
Yes, exactly. They would have found a distressed Daniel Hemrick fan somehow. And but something I found really interesting about this moment is that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. stayed out after this caution, and it kept a lot of guys a lap down because this is the middle of a pit cycle. And I was very fascinated by this. And Stenhouse managed to still finish fifth in this race. That's a really good run for the 47 car. So that caution definitely, I don't know about other people, but definitely helped out the 47 team.
Ricky's interview on the actual post-race show last night was so cool to see because Ricky was talking about how racing at Iowa Speedway last night kind of brought him back to when he was racing there in Xfinity. And he was kind of remembering some things about the track, which is so weird because this is a completely different car, completely different track. Ricky said he had a smile on his face. I'm like, that's so cool. And Ricky had a great run last night. Like, good job to the 47 team, you know?
Yeah.
And good job to Ricky. I mean, that was one of the best races that he's run outside of a super speedway race, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if things go a little bit differently, he might be somewhat in contention to win, but he still needs a lot of help.
And speak of different situations potentially winning, how about Kyle Larson? Because Kyle Larson had the best car, I think, by a lot. I think because Blaney was able to battle with Larson at times, but Larson literally drove through the whole field after having a tire issue that wasn't actually an issue. He had to drive through the field. He got all the way back up to win the stage. And then he goes 3 wide with Daniel Suarez and Brad Keselowski, which also took out Denny Hamlin. I want to talk about Denny Hamlin in a minute as well. And
you know who I want to talk about?
Who?
Screw Denny. How about Danny Suarez? Why you gotta run him over? Why do you gotta run him over?
So you do think it's Suarez? It's on Suarez, this incident. Yeah.
I mean,
your reaction.
Yeah. Who else hit him? Like, yes. So, when the car turns the other car, it's the car that turned the car. Sorry.
So to me, I thought this was just a racing incident. I saw some people on social media saying that this might have been on Larson because he took it 3 wide. Was it over aggressive on Larson's part? But
I'm sorry, Kyle Larson is trying to pass cars. I'm so sorry.
Exactly. Like, I think it's fine that he did that. And Suarez did move up the track, but Suarez, it sounded like didn't know he was 3 wide. So I guess you put that on the spot.
Surprises me. He didn't know they were 3 wide.
So
I'm just salty. I'm so salty. I'm not actually like criticizing Daniel. Do you realize how salty I am? This 5 team throws away so many points.
They do.
They're still second in points, I think, but like they throw away so many points. Like, and it's like when they had to pit anyways for a tire that was did they even have a tire problem? Yeah, they were just
No. There was no tire problem.
It was like at Texas when the wheel fell off. Like, you had the fastest car. Why are you throwing it away?
Like, at minimum, he would have had to fight Blaney, and I think he had the better car than Blaney. And that's another 5 playoff points just kind of thrown out. So if he doesn't make Phoenix, a lot of these little moments are just going to be pointed back to.
He got a stage one at least, I think. Or did he?
He did.
Yeah, he did.
He did. And with Larson, Cliff Daniels, I want to give Slay of the Week to Cliff Daniels because that man could go through war and he'll still be giving you a motivational speech because Kyle was mad at Denny Hamlin for hitting him at one point in the race. And Cliff is basically saying, like, I don't know what his problem is either, but we're moving on. We don't care. We're still the best car here. Why are we worried
about the 11 car when he's laps down, Kyle?
Like, Denny is running 30th. Don't worry about him.
Yeah. Great leader. And that's not the first time he's given that kind of pep talk to Larson. I want, you see this little cutout, video listeners? I want a little cutout of Cliff Daniels to put with my
right next
Kyle
to
Larson
Kyle.
cutout. I love that man.
He's great.
I love that man so much. He's literally the best. He's the best crew chief in the garage. Sorry, Rodney. He's the best crew chief in the garage. I don't care.
I think that's probably true for right now. And we mentioned Denny
And he's
Hamlin.
hot.
True.
What? Who said
Very
that?
true.
That's really inappropriate. Whoever said that.
Were you hacked? Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was hacked.
Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulties. Zach got hacked for a minute. It's Happy Pride, though, Zach. Happy Pride to Zach's hacker.
Zach's hacker, yeah. Not me. I didn't say that.
Joe Gibbs Racing had a weird race, to say the least. Hamlin
where was Hamlin?
34th.
He was so bad. And a lot of this stuff, and like Christopher Bell had issues on the early run. Ty Gibbs, he kind of has just been sucking lately. Ever since spring, Ty Gibbs has just been sucking lately. Truex is nowhere to be seen. I almost wonder if they overreacted to the tire issues that they saw Friday.
Oh, maybe.
That's what I was thinking with the 20 car, because when Bell was saying that his car really sucked on the short run, because NBC let us know that they were saying that. I was thinking, I wonder if they went too far on the adjustments to help tire wear, because I don't know. That's just my thought, because they ended up not having tire issues. The 20 did have a tire issue in practice on Friday, so maybe they got scared. I would be interested to hear more about it, but they didn't mention it at all. Adam Stevens, he didn't mention that it was because of any adjustments. He just said, "Yeah, I don't know, dude." Like he seemed confused. Everyone on the 20 team seemed confused, but they still battled back and got a 4th place finish because they had a really long run at the end. So it worked out. But
for them, not really the teammates. Like Denny, it looked like he was maybe getting into the 20s. Like he wasn't in the 30s anymore eventually. But I don't know. Denny just seemed very confused. You said confused for Bell. I think Hamlin was just like, I cannot turn this car. It doesn't want to go anywhere.
Denny finished 24th.
Okay. He was running 34th. So, I mean, that's better than what it could have been.
He finished 2 laps down.
Okay.
What? But not okay. Don't say okay. You're Denny Hamlin, and he's been, top 3 guy all year long, right? He's in contention to win so many. That's a little concerning to have that much of an off race. Again, I think they must have just overcompensated for the tire wear. Yeah, because again, NBC talked about that a lot last night. If you make your car, you can make these tires last forever, but then your car's going to be slow, right? It's a balance they have to struck, and I don't think the JGR car struck that last night. So,
right, and Truex and Gibbs, you said them too. They were just nowhere to be seen as well. So just kind of a weird night.
I think, of course, maybe that just goes with all of JGR, but man, Truex is going to concern me for the rest of the year because, of course, we'll get into his retirement announcement. I just never see anybody after they announce their retirement. I never see them win. Jeff Gordon's the only one where I saw them win, and Tony Stewart, I guess. It's just, I think Truex is going to have this. We'll talk about it later in the tea, actually. I'm going to shut up. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Well, let's talk about the points. Chris Buescher, another kind of good night, but then it turned bad for him. He's plus 27.
He had a tire good one, right?
Yeah, I think Buescher might need to win. I know he's good on points right now, but he's had so many weird moments that I feel like I might end up taking him out, especially with Logano on the rise. I don't know.
Yeah, the playoff picture looks so... Where's Buescher? Oh, well, no, he doesn't need to win. He's still in. I know Logano's on the rise, but
So if Logano keeps rising, that would push Buescher out, is what I'm saying.
No,
or if Logano wins
Bubba
the race. Well, I think Bubba is going to keep free falling. So I
what do you... Huh? Alex, what are you talking about?
I'm saying Logano's going to get in and Buescher and Bubba are going to fall out, and you're going to probably have another surprise winner at some point.
Oh.
I wouldn't feel safe if you're on that last spot.
You wouldn't feel safe. I wouldn't say that they need to win, though. Yes, they need to win to feel safe, but I think right now they need to keep points racing. Because
that's the thing. They're not really getting points.
Well, then they need to start getting points, Alex. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Oh my God. I mean, they really need
Buescher
that
is
sticker now.
Plus 27. Bubba is plus 6. Logano's minus 6. And Kyle Busch, talk about him for a minute. He's minus minus
Kyle
31.
Busch ain't getting. He ain't gonna worry about the A team.
No.
They throw away. Hey, listen, Kyle Busch would probably be like 15th on the playoff grid if they didn't throw away like these last 3 races.
Yeah.
And
saying. Kyle Busch, I mean, he was running 5th for a time or two in this race. I don't see them making the playoffs.
What happened again? Didn't they get into an incident with somebody and they hit the wall? I forgot who it was.
I forget, but he
like,
avoided the Larson incident, which I'm like, oh, Kyle Busch, he avoided something cool, but then something happened later on.
Or their tire go down. I think their tire went down.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Ooh,
there were a lot of tires. But,
yikes!
And also
embarrassing.
Shout out to Todd Gilliland, by the way, who's now 20th in points. That's, I think, pretty remarkable because, one, he's ahead of Michael McDowell, and also Todd Gilliland just continues to get better and better. And with Michael McDowell leaving front row, he might be their new flagship guy next year. I don't know for sure. Depends who else they bring in from Haas and everything next year, but that's a very interesting story.
He's just so like clean and consistent, keeps it clean.
He was running third at a point yesterday.
We don't hear about him a lot because, again, he's just doing his thing, running where the car is. Yeah. I mean, he's not like Harrison, who's wrecking every week. But Harrison had a good run yesterday, too. Harrison finished 20th.
Such a great run.
Let's go. Let's get it. P20.
And let's talk about the regular season championship now. Chase Elliott is the new regular season points leader. He's +8 over Kyle Larson and +38 over Dennis Hamlin. Elliott's having a great, consistent season. I've seen a lot of people say it's like Kenseth in 03, where it's just like very quiet. He does have that win. I feel like Elliott could be a championship contender this year. Like, this is very different from what we saw a year ago.
Regular season champion, I think, is going to be Chase Elliott with how Larson and Hamlin seem to throw away races.
Right.
Elliott's looking good, and I'm curious though, is he going to win more? Because, like in 2022, for example, when he was kind of having a season like this, he still won he started winning a bunch of races in the summer, right? Like, it was like Nashville and then a road course. And then he kind of won Pocono, but he's got some tracks coming up I could see him winning at. So I'd be interested to see what that 9 team does. But I mean, it's not like he needs to win right now, though. Like, yes, the extra playoff points will be cool, but regular season championship, that's pretty cool too. I'm just saying. For sure. But, this format awards running up front, winning stages. So, you still want a little bit more. And I think they said that last night. I think Chase said they're not maximizing their potential, which I would agree with. Yeah. I mean, he should be winning more races.
And last night, there was a point Blaney said he didn't have anything for the Hendrick cars, and obviously he did, but Byron and Elliott were the 2 cars that were behind Blaney at the end of that race. I mean, if something would have happened, like if one of Blaney's tires would have went out, it would have been between Byron and Elliott for the win. Yeah. And Byron hasn't won in a while either.
Byron hasn't been running good in a while.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed last night. I'm like, okay, Byron's actually running good. He's going to get a good finish. That's cool because he has not been consistent this year at all. Ever since his Martinsville win. So he's back. I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll see.
And now let's transition into everyone's favorite segment on the Gay Racing Podcast. It's time for the Tea.
The Tea. Welcome to the Tea. Oh my gosh.
And Zach, you're going to give us a little story time today, right?
It's story time with dreamy Zack Racing. Oh my gosh. So I left my house Saturday night.
Crazy.
Crazy.
What?
Never before seen. So I went to the Cars Tour event at Dominion Raceway in Virginia, because I live in Virginia. I live 45 minutes away from Dominion Raceway, and I've never been there, actually. I don't get out much. It's not that I don't care about local short track racing. It's more of the fact that I want to stay home. Okay. But because the Cars Tour was coming and there's been a lot of hype around the Cars Tour lately. I love seeing Carson Quapple in the Xfinity series, and he runs the Cars Tour full time. I went to go see them. And of course it was they had other events too, and I'll talk about that. But it was my first time at like a local track. Like the only racetracks I've been to before were NASCAR tracks, right? Richmond and Iowa Speedway, and then Indianapolis. Those are the only racetracks I've been to in my life, surprisingly enough. So it was cool. I'll talk about it was a nice facility. They built it in like 2016. It's got this it's like a big building like on the front stretch, and at the top, like you start at the bottom and then you walk up through the grandstands and go to your seat. Or if you keep walking up, you get to this building, and inside this building, there's like a whole bar where you can order drinks and food. And then there's like tables to sit at, a big window to see the track. It looks really cool. And I was really impressed with that part. Like it was pretty small compared to what I'm like normally like used to, but it was still really nice. And I got to see some nice racing. So that night, the lineup, they had Bandoleros. There were 6 of them, which I think is pretty typical. There's normally not that many, I guess. And they were legit just children. Like, sorry, my camera's moving.
Yeah, you look like you're in an earthquake. You keep hitting your table.
Because my leg was resting on my table and my head's moving. So, some kid, the Bandolero race, it sucked because they couldn't pass because they're literally just wrapping the bottom, typical, whatever. But then the Legends race is where it really gets interesting. And I don't know any of these guys. When I was watching qualifying, I don't know any of these guys in these Legends cars, right? I don't even know if they're kids or not. But one of the names I did recognize. It was the 62 car, and it said Harvick. And I'm like, what? I had no idea little bro was in this race. Keelan Harvick, son of Kevin Harvick. Did not know he was going to be in this race until I sat there and was watching qualifying. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, it's on now. This is legit. And I think he qualified second. He got kind of stuck on the outside lane when the race started. He ended up falling back to 5th, but then he started climbing back through the field on restarts and restarts and restarts. Ended up on a green-white checkered finish. He did a little bit of a bump and run, and he won the race.
Oh,
Keelan
that's
Harvick.
awesome.
I saw Keelan Harvick win. And that was really cool to me because I know this kid. Like, I know who he is, I guess. Yeah. And Delana and Kevin came out during the Victory Lane celebration to take pictures. I got some pictures on my phone. It was so cool. Like, that's one of those moments where, like, if Keelan Harvick's like a famous racer one day, I'm going to be like, I saw him win when he was 10 or 11 or whatever, 14. I don't even know how old he is. Like, that was so cool. That was just so cool. So, yeah, it was, wow. As I said at Indy, wow.
That's awesome.
Talking about the main event, after the Legends race was the Cars Tour main event. And it had this really cool program. So the race was called Minnie's Mission 125. And the driver in the Cars Tour, Minnie Tyrell, he has this kind of charity that helps a lot of children that are battling cancer. And the whole kind of deal with this race is, I think they did it last year, I think, as well. They have of a bunch of children that either are or were battling cancer, and they get assigned to a race team, and that child and their family gets to hang out with that race team at the track for that day.
Oh, fun.
And they even walk with them during driver intros. Like, it was so cool. It was such a cool little initiative. And then race winner Brendan Butterbean Queen, as you guys, as the streets know him,
the streets.
He ended up winning the race, and I'll talk about him in a minute. But his I guess, like, child that was assigned to his team was also assigned to him last year at the race. And the difference between this year and last year is that the child that was with Butterbean, they beat cancer. They were going into remission as of last week.
Oh, that's awesome.
They rung the bell, I guess. So yeah. So it was just a cool little story. I love that. It made me really happy. It made me glad I was out there supporting that event, you know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, cancer sucks. Cancer sucks. It sucks. But yeah, Butterbean's legit, right? How much do you know of Butterbean, Alex? Just curious.
I recognized the names. He did a truck race, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. And I only know that because NASCAR made them change the nameplate on the truck from Butterbean to Queen or something.
Because if you're not
That's
paying
like all I know.
attention, if you're not really paying attention, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't know who this guy is. But, and I still don't even know that much about him. He's definitely the most popular car store driver.
Oh, wow.
I would say, because I saw a lot of Butterbean shirts.
Oh.
Maybe he's the only driver making really good merch, but like I saw a lot of Butterbean shirts. His car looks cool. It's like a video game pixel-ish like paint scheme.
I've seen different
The 03.
schemes of his. He's had like Mario on there before. Like he's done a variety of like video game things. Yeah.
Yeah, he qualified on the pole, led every lap. It was not even a contest. He was good. He was locked in. So I'm glad I got to see him win. Apparently he was at Waffle House after the race. I don't know if that was a local Waffle House or one in North Carolina, but he was at the Waffle House after the race. So
fun.
Good on him. But yeah, the racing for the late model stocks cars tour, really good. Classic short track racing. It wasn't too circus like that. There were definitely a lot of cautions, but like it's short track racing. There's going to be a lot of cautions. The only clown show part of it was they wrecked on the start mid pack. Yeah. That was really funny, actually. It wasn't a big wreck, but it was like typical IndyCar at an oval. Like
yeah, I think that's what I replied to you when you texted the video to me. I said, I didn't know you went to an IndyCar race tonight.
Yeah, that's what. And it was like mid back too. Like I don't even know how they just started checking up and stuff. And I don't know,
your reaction in that video, you were like yelling, something funny. I was cracking up whatever you said in it. But
yeah,
and you have one more thing to say, and I'm so sorry to our listeners.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me finish. I'm really impressed with how close they race. Like bumper to bumper. They are just sending it into the corner with the car in front of them right on their bumper. Like inches away. I was just really impressed by that. Because I think you forget race cars can do that because NASCAR cars, they have trouble doing that, like especially the next gen. So it was just cool to see. It was a spectacle in that regard, right? Yeah. So great racing. Honestly, screw the next gen car. Just get late model stocks out there and we'll have a good show. The bathrooms.
Here we go again.
If you saw our Indy 500 episode, you know I think I'm the official race track bathroom.
Well, yeah, you love talking about pee. We know. Let's get it over with.
Indy 500, the volume of the bathrooms were great. There were so many bathrooms. They were huge, but they stunk and they were wet and gross. The raceway, the bathroom at Dominion. Now, I only used it once because I couldn't really leave my seat because it was really crowded in the grandstands. So I couldn't really leave my seat. I only used it once. I'd say the bathroom was pretty clean. Like, I felt very comfortable using it. However, bro was small. That was a small bathroom. And I think it was the only bathroom. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's another bathroom hidden somewhere. But, like, that was the main bathroom. There was a huge line after the race to use the bathroom. And I'm like, nah, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of here using in the bathroom as sheets. I mean, it was only like 2 urinals and 2 stalls.
That's
like
crazy.
And the thing is, this was kind of the theme of the whole night. This is the biggest event for Dominion Raceway, I think, all year. I assume.
Probably is.
It's a big touring series. They were definitely understaffed, like at the food, the bar and the food court thing. They were way understaffed. The line was moving really slow because every time someone took the order, they had to leave and go do something. Like they needed more people. So that kind of felt bad for them. Like they were probably getting really overworked that night.
I'm sure, yeah.
So it's like they definitely weren't, I guess, prepared for like that kind of crowd. Because I heard other people saying behind me, like that's the big, like normally they're able to spread out in the grandstands, but for that event, I mean the grandstands were packed. I mean there were people everywhere.
That's good.
It was good though. Yeah, no, it was good. It's a good problem to have. So yeah. But yeah, the bathrooms suck because they're just too small.
Yeah.
And there's no other bathroom.
I really want to take you to some of the local dirt tracks I went to growing up. I think I would love to hear your reviews of all their bathrooms. I think I'm sure that's what would happen if you ever did that. But I think that's really cool you went. The Cars Tour, I mean, that's owned by Kevin Harvick and Dale Jr. I think Jeff Burton's a part of that too. So, I mean, that's pretty cool to say. And like you said, if Keelan Harvick goes on to become like a NASCAR Cup driver one day, you got to see him when he won as a kid. So it's really cool.
seeing him win, and I don't know how much Keelan Harvick's won. I assume he's won a lot because he's literally made of greatness. But like seeing Keelan Harvick and Butterbean win, like two pretty big names, I feel like that was cool.
Yeah.
Do I add them to my little notepad?
If you want to.
I feel like they have potential. Both of them have potential to get up the ranks one day. And Butterbean has a start coming up at Nashville in the trucks, so that'll be cool. Yeah,
cool. And something else was pretty cool. Le Mans happened this past weekend.
Yep, 24 hours Le Mans.
Look, I love IMSA. I don't really follow WEC or whatever, but what?
We talk about this every year. The American coverage of Le Mans sucks.
Yeah.
Because there's
apparently you could watch it on Max. Like you'd stream it on Max this year. But like I did not know that until it was already going and I was busy. So Oh, sorry. You good?
Like you glitched out. Sorry.
Okay.
I watched it on Motor Trend because I have Hulu Live TV. But like the commentators are these like I think they're the Eurosport commentators, so it's these weird British guys or European guys. I don't know. It's just the coverage is just like it's not Lee Diffie telling me why this race is awesome, or even Brian Till telling me why this race is awesome. It's just hard for me to get into. Not gonna lie, I get why Le Mans is a big deal, and I respect the hell out of that race and that event, but I just can't get into it. I did have it on, but Ferrari won overall. I don't even know who the drivers were. I don't know if it was the one that Antonio Giovinazzi was on, the former F1 driver.
I have no idea, but
I'll look.
The reason we wanted to bring this up is because Nolan Siegel, you may recognize that name. He was the one who was bumped out of this year's Indianapolis 500 in very dramatic fashion. And look, he ended up winning an LMP2, winning Le Mans. And I think that is just so cool because the lowest of lows in the Indy 500, one of the biggest races of the year, and then you go and win another big race of the year. Like that's awesome.
That is awesome. That's the glory of motorsports. Motorsports are so cool in that regard, right? One of the commentators made a big blunder because they said that he started the Indy 500 on his victory call. They said from starting the Indy 500 a month ago to now winning at Le Mans. Like they said something like that. And I'm like, girl, he didn't. He did not start the Indy 500.
He did not start it.
And that just made me, and there's a lot of I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter this weekend from IndyCar fans. Like, they're not talking about Alex Palou and Scott Dixon and, with IndyCar drivers in the race. And then they get that little stat tidbit wrong. And I definitely kind of I definitely feel that frustration because it's just like, man, it's the Indy 500.
Yeah.
That's a big of a deal as Le Mans. Like, let's be like, you get your research right, dude. I don't know.
Right. Moving on here, we have a bunch of big news to talk about. Martin Truex Jr., as we mentioned earlier, Zach, he'll be retiring at the end of the season. He's been thinking about this for the past 2 to 3
That's
years.
Crazy. That's crazy. Who would have saw that coming? What?
Definitely not me. Definitely not me.
To be fair, we've been seeing it coming for 3 years.
Yeah. And Zach, would you like to share what Cole Pern had to say about Truex's retirement?
Yeah, Cole Pern, Martin Truex's former crew chief. He has some really he's very plugged into the situation, and his insight on why Truex has finally decided to pull the plug on his career is that, the plug fell out. The tungsten butt plug, it fell out. The one they used to add an advantage, I guess. This story was formally reported on the Gay Racing Podcast, I believe earlier this year, I think, or it was at some point. I'd have to plug in the episode to see when it was. But
I don't know.
I don't remember. But so interesting insight from Cole Pern. Thank you, Cole, for keeping us plugged into the situation.
Yes, thank you, Cole.
That sucks for Martin. That really sucks for Martin. And but he says he doesn't want to completely unplug himself from the sport either.
You gotta stop saying plug. You gotta.
I just wanted to see. No. I wanted to see. Not even that it was funny. I just wanted to see how many times I could say it.
until
I
I
said
cut
it a
you
lot
off.
in
You
different
did say
ways.
it a lot.
Unplugged, plugged in, plug.
But I did not think Truex would want to continue racing once he retired. I thought he'd do much more than what Carl Edwards did. I thought he'd just go out on a boat. You'd never see him again. He'd go fishing 7 days a week.
It's the
And
complete opposite.
you would see him for his Hall of Fame speech when he inevitably gets inducted into that. And then you'll never see him again. And then maybe one day he'll come with a big gray beard and be like, oh, yeah, I've been fishing. It's like, oh, really? That's very insightful. Thank you, Martin. Yeah. But Martin says he wants to do up to 10 races next year, whether that's in Cup, Xfinity. Listen. And they asked him in the press conference, like, would you consider racing? And he pointed at Joe and said, well, Joe has an Xfinity team. So, I mean.
So does he mean 10 Xfinity races? Because they have that all-star Xfinity lineup that, I mean, his brother Ryan Truex races in. That I think he would have more fun in that too than doing Cup races. I think he should probably maybe do Daytona, but like besides Daytona, maybe just do Xfinity races, you know.
And Denny Hamlin has said that he would get a car prepped for Martin if he wanted to run the Daytona 500.
Listen,
so
well, actually, I can see that then. Actually, yeah, in the '67 car, that would be cool. Listen, this is kind of like it reminds me of after. It's like. After you go on a date with somebody and you say that, yeah, we can do this again. And then you never text them again ever.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. Like Martin says that, yeah, I want to do some races next year. I'm like, I don't know if I believe that.
And how many drivers have said, I'm retiring from full-time racing, and then you never see them again, you know?
Yeah.
Full-time kind of thing.
Like, I mean, Almirola, yeah, he got an Xfinity, so I guess he gets a pass. But like, who else said that? Like, who else retired? Like, I don't know.
I think Harvick's the only one to have been like, yeah, you'll never see me in a Cup car ever again. A lot of the more recent ones, past like decade, have been like, yeah, I'm not doing this full time.
Maybe again. Boyer said full time. I think Boyer said full time. But hey, he's racing at Nashville in the truck, so I guess he's a man of his word, right?
But I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Martin came back next year, did a couple Xfinity races, and won.
It kind of would,
honestly.
It wouldn't surprise me if he won one, but it would surprise me if he did it. But also, I don't know. I believe it more because his brother's doing it. Like his brother's running the.
Maybe he wants to race against his brother again. I don't know,
dude. Them at Dover because they have right now they have 2 all-star cars for JGR and Xfinity, the 19 and the 20. So put Truex in the 19, put Martin in the 19, put Ryan in the 20 at Dover.
Ooh.
That would go so hard.
That'd be so cute.
That'd be really cute. Oh, I kind of want to cry. I love Martin. Oh my god, I hate Denny Hamlin because Martin should have won at Richmond. I should have seen him win 4 times and not 3. That was my last chance to see Martin win because I don't think I can go to the August race.
Or you can come to Kansas in September.
Shut the hell up. You can go to Kansas. I'll be like Martin. Like, yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. Yeah.
You should. You should. Jimmy Johnson will be there. You know, like
he is racing that, isn't
friends.
He?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, it sounds like Chase Briscoe is the favorite to replace Martin Truex Jr. at Gibbs. And Chase told Bob Pockrass that he is close to having a deal done for 2025.
I loved the tweets this weekend that were slandering Chase Briscoe. I thought they were very interesting because they were a lot of Chase Briscoe's stats and like success has been in that 2020 Xfinity Series season. Yeah. And a lot of people were like, well, the competition wasn't very good in 2020. I don't know if that's really true or not. It kind of is. Because remember, it was like Bell, Reddick, and Custer in the Xfinity Series. And then like all in that year, they went to Cup. So I'm like, yeah, maybe so. I don't know. But listen, Chase Briscoe, he has a Cup Series win. Okay. That's a lot more than some other drivers. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's not the guy. He's not my first choice, right?
No.
If JGR was locked in, you know who they should get? Noah Gragson.
Okay.
Get him back. Now, apparently him and Ty Gibbs have some beef. So Guess
I
not.
think what's going to happen if Briscoe goes to Gibbs and if he doesn't immediately win like a couple races, I bet they boot him for some other Toyota driver they have in development. I don't know who that would be. They have a lot.
Like kind of what they did to Eric Jones-ish.
Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
I think this is just a play. They're like, we don't want to have another rookie. Ty Gibbs just finished his rookie year. We want someone who has won, who can do it, doesn't have a long learning curve. We can just fill this ride for the short term. He has sponsorship. I'm assuming Mahindra will follow him over there at least.
Or maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Like, you know, like I feel like they're just like, this is probably the easiest choice we got. We don't got to negotiate all this stuff. And going for Kyle Busch is too much money. Like, there's just a lot of different
people saying,
factors.
Okay, Kyle Busch going back to JGR, though, would be a bigger story than when he left JGR.
It'd be
That
wild.
would be insane.
And by the way, Kyle Busch is like, yeah, I would go back to Gibbs. I'd go back to Hendrick.
I bet he would go back to Gibbs. If I was him, I would go back to Gibbs too. I would have gone back to Gibbs yesterday as a janitor. Like as a janitor, I would have gone back to Gibbs. Whatever job they need done, I would have done it. Like, oh my God. No. That poor man.
But yeah, again, if Briscoe does go there, I bet if he doesn't win at least 2 races or something in that first year, I bet they can him 2 years later. And they replace him with, I think Corey Haim's ended up at 23-11 or something. But like if Chandler Smith starts getting really good or something, like they'll have someone else. Or if John Hunter Nemechek, they want to give him a shot in there. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Last thing, I'm sure everyone is waiting for our opinion on this one. IndyCar and Fox have agreed to a new television deal starting next year. And the entire season, from start to finish, will be on Big Fox. No FS1, no FS2. You're going to have Indy Next races on FS1 and FS2. That's huge for Indy Next. And yeah, it's on Fox Sports, right? And we've talked about that ad nauseum. And also, alongside this, the whole schedule for next year released as well for IndyCar. And first of all, the big gap in the schedule is still there.
Like at the beginning,
Texas is still gone. And then they have a gap, or not a gap, but Gateway moves to June, but it clashes with next year's Le Mans. You're not going to see guys potentially like Alex Palou, Scott Dixon go over there.
Maybe even Nolan Siegel.
Nolan Siegel potentially. I have issues, and I also have positives here.
So here's the thing: what are we talking about, Fox or the schedule first? How are we, or both at the same? Like, I don't know. Let's start
with the schedule, because I think Fox may have more to say.
Okay, so the schedule to me is this typical IndyCar schedule release where nothing changes when stuff needs to change. Yeah. We need more ovals. I don't want to hear. No, nope. Shut up. I know you are saying right now at your TV. I see you. I hear you. Actually. Oh, but they can't go to NASCAR tracks and people don't show up to oval races. You can literally kiss my ass. I didn't ask and I don't care. We need more ovals. We are the IndyCar series. We need more ovals. Nope. Stop. No, ma'am. No. Stop arguing with me. I'm not. Nope. Stop arguing with me. Stop. Okay. Here we go.
Yes.
We need more ovals. Texas should be on the schedule.
It should be.
Like, why?
The impression they gave was that Texas was going to be a 1-year away thing from it. I don't understand why they couldn't find out something with Texas. I really don't. That's the biggest flop. And by the way, Thermal Club is on the schedule again as a points race.
Okay, honestly, I think that's an improvement to doing a pointless all-star race. Would you agree?
Fair, yes. Fair. But I still think you're going to a venue that's only catering to the rich people. It's like it's so inaccessible. I think it's still stupid. Like, if you're trying to grow your series, that's not how you do it.
Going to the Northeast would be cool.
Yeah.
New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Up there.
Or, I don't know, go to Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Or, if y'all can, like, I guess they need money or something. Like, if Hy-Vee can revive the Iowa Speedway, surely, I don't know, Yamama's Trading Company can go sponsor Kentucky Speedway and put an IndyCar race on there and have a show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you would think.
I don't know.
And
I don't
I know
know.
Kentucky's in the middle of nowhere, but it is in between Cincinnati and Louisville, which
Iowa's
are
in the middle of
two
nowhere, and people show
true.
up.
But Cincinnati and Louisville are consistently top of the IndyCar TV ratings. So it's like people would go if you market it, which that's a concern. But
And again, people are like, well, no one's going to show, or you need money. No, no. This is the thing, though. And we're going to get into it with Fox. IndyCar, they need to spend money to make money. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
or they need to, this needs to happen whether they don't have enough money or not. As a fan, I kind of don't care because you need to do this because you look like a poor series sometimes, a poor man series.
yeah.
You know, especially with the schedule, and then you're gonna have Gateway clash with Le Mans.
For what reason?
Why? That's so disrespectful to your drivers. You want your drivers to go out on the world stage and perform, right? Like that's free advertising for you.
They just had Kyle Larson come over and get in trouble with NASCAR, essentially, and did the same thing, and it benefited IndyCar. And yet they're like, you know what? We're going to not let our drivers do the same kind of thing. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? No.
I don't get it. Like, you could have had Gateway. Like, is it that cold in St. Louis at the beginning of the year?
No.
You could have had that Gateway race maybe in the beginning of the year. Now, I heard this thing said about, like, because all of the races are on Network Fox, they probably have not as much flexibility of when to have the races because of the TV windows. I do understand that. Maybe that's why they couldn't put Gateway anywhere else. Yeah. I want to say fair enough, but no.
Well, because Gateway, it's usually at the middle to end of August, and now the championship will end on the last day of August. This will be a Labor Day weekend is when the championship is. So they had to push one of those dates up, and it happened to be Gateway. I was telling you, I feel like Gateway should be where Barber is, like either the last week of April, first week of May. I feel like Indy should only be May, so maybe last week of April. Make that the St. Louis weekend because NASCAR's at Kansas first weekend of May, and it's usually pretty fine. So St. Louis is just, 3.5 hours
in April or
down.
March,
it would have been fine.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Like, come on. That just frustrates me. And I think everything they got rid of. Interestingly, they got rid of the Milwaukee doubleheader before the first one has happened. Which, yeah. I mean, I guess that's fine.
Yeah, my assumption is that it's not selling well, so they're just like, we just won't do it. Ooh. That's my assumption. But
maybe they aren't going to the oval tracks. y'all Milwaukee MFers better get to Milwaukee. Y'all better go. Alex, how close are you to Milwaukee?
It's further than Indy.
Where is Wisconsin? Oh, that's up there.
It's up. I think it's 8 hours, 9. I don't know.
I don't know. Matt Kenseth, get there. Go there. He lives in Wisconsin. Okay.
Let's talk about Fox. And look, you all know we don't like that they're going to Fox, right? However, I'm going to try and be positive about this for a minute. Because as I said, this is huge for Indy Next. That's going to be televised. That series has been on streaming only for a hot minute. And I don't think a lot of people know that series exists, quite frankly.
Honestly. And that's a huge deal. David Land made a lot of good points because when you have a series like Indy Next behind a paywall of a streaming service, no one's going to check that series out because you have to make an investment to see it, right? But now that it's going to be, just on FS1, people are a lot more likely to go check it out, right?
Yeah, and that's huge for sponsorship. You're probably going to have more drivers based on their skill rather than their family's money. I hate to say that, but a lot of the Indy Next drivers probably get money from family funding or whatever. But now you're going to be on television. You're going to get actual sponsors be like, oh, you know what? I might actually put some money toward that.
I mean, it's their Xfinity series, and we see the quality of our Xfinity races, right? IndyCar deserves the same thing, or at least they need it. So that's a really good thing to see. So that's a positive
for sure.
And I think, go ahead.
The entire IndyCar schedule being on Big Fox on network, right?
Yep,
that is huge. NASCAR doesn't have that at all, obviously. They're only going to have, I believe, 5 races on Fox and I think 4 on NBC next year. It might be slightly off. Like, that is huge for the IndyCar series. And we talked about it a few weeks ago. We talked about how NBC had offered every race on network and that Fox was potentially mostly going to do FS1, FS2 races for IndyCar. Obviously, Fox stepped up and said, we'll put everything on network and we'll give you way more money than what NBC was offering you. So overall, I do think it is a win for IndyCar, right? And they're going to get a lot more money, IndyCar is. And they need money. They do. I understand why Penske would take the deal.
It's like you can't argue. You can't blame them for taking this deal.
Yeah.
I just talked about how you need to spend money to get money. Well, you need money to spend money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I hope a lot of that money goes toward marketing because that's still a struggle over there. I hope it doesn't go right to Roger Penske's yacht that there was an article about recently. But
wait, what?
I don't know.
What's he doing? He's getting on a boat? He needs to get on a boat. Roger needs to go get on a boat. I'm to tell you what. Let him spend that money on that yacht and he'll spend less time screwing up the series. I'll tell you what.
But there was an article about how he parked his giant ass yacht at some boat port. I don't know. There was an article about it.
Rich people drama. Rich people drama.
Yeah, basically. But so another thing is it sounds like IMS Productions, which does the camera work and overall production for IndyCar broadcasts, will continue to do that. My concerns, though, you're going to get the Fox graphics, which I think are bad. And that's not even talking about just the cartoons. I think just overall, the Fox graphic package is
they have little stats that are just inaccurate.
Exactly. And you have the Fox commentary, and it sounds like you might get Adam Alexander, who I think is respectable. I don't have an issue with him.
I can't imagine him doing the 500, but I'm open to it.
That's my thing. He's not an Indy 500 voice. You're going to go from Lee Diffie to potentially Adam Alexander. I think that's okay. But he's
Ryan Reed wins the Indy 500.
That's the thing. Yeah. And there's the potential you could have Mike Joy call the Indy 500, which I think could be kind of cool.
Kind of still suck because Mike Joy's old. Oh,
right. And I don't know if it'd be the
I don't
best, but like
our elders, but
I think it would be kind of cool to see. But my point is that with how much money Fox is also spending, I worry that they might tell IMS Productions like, hey, we want to control that. We want to control that. We give you a lot of money. You better let us do this.
Like, they need IndyCar experts, which, and it's going to, whoever they put in that booth is going to be interesting. James Hinchcliffe is now, out in the open because he was an independent contractor. Like, so he could be, Fox should get him, to be honest. Just get him.
Yeah.
Just don't waste time. Just get him. And maybe, I don't know who else they could get, but like, there's options. I don't know. Connor Daly might be cool if he's not driving.
I think if Connor Daly doesn't have a ride, I bet they have Connor Daly in some capacity. He fits the very Fox goofy persona, but he was honestly not bad in his couple SRX races that he did.
Yeah. Well, it's just what they need to not do is put NASCAR talent into the IndyCar broadcast. And David Lane had a great video about that. Like, just if you fill it with IndyCar talent and IndyCar experts, like the Kevin Lees and the Jan Vikases of the world, then we'll be fine. But if you have Michael Waltrip being like, man, look at how fast these Indy cars are going. Man, isn't this just incredible, guys? Man, look at old who runs in the back in IndyCar?
Stingray Rob.
Look at old Stingray Rob, man. He's having a great run today up in a P22. He's just keeping it clean and consistent.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, Jamie Little as a pit reporter would eat.
It would. Yeah, I like Jamie as a pit reporter. I think she
did that before when it was on ESPN. Yeah. I might be wrong, though.
Yeah.
That would eat.
We'll see what happens there. I'm not optimistic, but I'm very cautious. I'm very concerned because I initially thought they were going to put like everything on FS2, which is that would have been awful. Since it's all on network, I'm willing to give it a chance, but if it's bad,
isn't that just for this year though? So far, like that's not confirmed for the whole deal, is it?
No, it's just for the next year.
Like this might be a short-term gain but what does this mean long
Right.
term? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, there's going to be a honeymoon phase with IndyCar and Fox, and what happens after that? You know?
Yeah. If Fox does not take this seriously, they need to get this money and then sign a new deal with someone else in 2 years. It sounds like it's a 2 or 3 year deal, just like this most recent with NBC was. If they don't take it seriously and they're making it a joke like they have with NASCAR, they gotta get out of there. They gotta. Even if they're offering you even more money in 3 years, like, I don't care. Like, they are on, and IndyCar's in disarray at the moment. It is not good. And although this is a short-term gain, as you're saying, Zach, it is potentially a long-term loss.
It's a long-term concern.
Yeah.
At least.
And if my fear comes true, where they're like, we want more involvement with the production,
that would
cut
be
the
horrible.
Cameras.
Because they literally do not meet the minimum quality for a NASCAR broadcast.
No.
And if they don't care enough to get NASCAR right, they're not going to care enough to get IndyCar right. So
no,
they need to stay away from production because they're incompetent and they don't listen to criticism. They must have a humiliation kink because I'm sure they see Twitter every single weekend, especially this weekend, just absolutely clowning on them. And NBC, It's so funny because NBC, I almost feel like NBC sees what we complain about with Fox, and they're like, oh, so y'all want a post-race show? Okay. Y'all want more interviews? Okay. Y'all want instant replays? Okay. Yep. Wait a minute. We've been doing this forever.
We already do all these things.
We've been doing this since like 2001. What do you mean? Like, people want this? I thought we already had this.
Right. We will see. And I will say something that is cool, but there's a caveat with the stupid schedule. Fox has a Super Bowl next year. Fox has the Daytona 500. So IndyCar is going to get a lot of promotion, I bet, because Fox is hyped to have the Indy 500 next year. They're going to be promoting the crap out of it.
People are just going to get confused on what... People are going to get the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500 confused. That's what's going to happen.
They're probably going to do a bad job at actually explaining it. But the thing is, Super Bowl, Daytona 500 ads for IndyCar, they go to St. Pete. They might have really good TV numbers there, but then guess what? There's a 3-week gap. Everyone is going to forget about IndyCar in that 3-week period, as they always do. Then you're going to go to Thermal Club, which is a stupid racetrack. And then you're going to have another 3-week break. And then it's like, what, another month until you go to the Indy 500? At that point, the Daytona 500 was 2 months ago. The Super Bowl was 3 months ago. None of it matters at that point. They need to fix the early part of the schedule. It's stupid. And I'll give flop of the week to the IndyCar schedule. Not necessarily to this TV deal yet. Stay tuned.
I'll let Fox cook. I have hope that Fox can do this right, but it's the same kind of hope where it's like, surely maybe one day they will fix the NASCAR broadcast, right?
I don't have hope.
I don't know. So, yeah.
We'll see. Yep.
Are you ready to move on?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see. And now we're heading to fantasy. NASCAR is at New Hampshire. IndyCar is at Laguna Seca. Pull up the fantasy pick.
Both races that normally aren't in this part of the year, and I am pulling it up. Like they're normally not in this part of the year, so it's kind of weird to me. Because normally New Hampshire's like a month from now.
July.
Back in the day, it used to be in June. I remember it used to be the week before July 4th. I used to remember that.
Yeah.
Because I have a weird memory like that. Yeah. So fantasy last week kind of sucked for me. Because Larson wrecked.
Yeah, you had Kyle Larson. I had Joey Logano. I have a pick. Are you ready?
I am ready now. All right.
All right.
So 3, 2, 1. For New Hampshire, I'm trying to pick Christopher. Is it loading?
Yeah, it's loading.
Christopher Bell. And you're picking Joey Logano? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going Logano again.
I
think it's going to happen. Logano's going to get a win before the playoffs.
Okay.
C. Bell, huh?
I wasn't expecting Logano again, to be honest, but he is on a roll. I picked Seabell because I feel like he's always been really good at New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's. I mean, he does have a win there, but also he was so good at Gateway, and he was even. I mean, he recovered really good at Iowa. He's been fast lately. I just think I don't know. I have good vibes about him. So
I like it. I think Bell's a really good pick. I'm going with Logano again. I think he's going to get a win. I thought maybe Iowa. I had the right team, just a wrong number.
Penske's been fast.
New Hampshire is another track similar to Gateway. It's a similar kind of thing to Iowa as well.
I mean, Penske's won 3 of the last 5 NASCAR Cup Series events.
Yeah.
So.
And if Logano doesn't win here, I think he's going to win Richmond in a few weeks or in about a month or so. So keep an eye on that. I will say, if we would have matched, my next pick would have been Bell, I think. But then I think I would go with Josh Berry. That is like a dark horse.
Yo, that's crazy. You got a points lead and you're just like, yeah, let me just throw out these picks. Picks. Josh Berry, Chase Briscoe, Corey LaJoie even.
I mentioned it earlier. Rodney Childers got a win with Brian Vickers, right? Where was that at? It was at New Hampshire.
It was New Hampshire.
How many times did Harvick and Rodney Childers win at New Hampshire?
We've seen a lot of weird winners at New Hampshire.
Eric Almirola has won here.
Christopher Bell got his 2nd win. Eric Almirola got like his 3rd career win. Logano got his 1st career win at New Hampshire. And then Brian Vickers got like his 3rd career win at New Hampshire. So yeah, I mean, a lot of weird one-off-ish wins at New Hampshire. So I could see Josh Berry winning.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think that'd be a dark horse kind of choice. And obviously don't count out Kyle Larson. Don't count out Denny Hamlin. Maybe Denny Hamlin will be back from his vacation.
They keep throwing races away. So I'm kind of over-picking them for a little bit.
Right.
Until they win next week. Now Kyle Larson's going to be like, oh, let me lead every lap next week.
Exactly. All right. Well, now we're going to IndyCar at Laguna Seca. And I'm sure this first one. All right. I got my pick.
All right,
you ready?
I got my pick too. All right. 3, 2, 1.
You're going Joseph?
I am going Joseph because he's locked in.
Okay. Fair. Okay.
I saw him at Road America. He's locked the hell in.
All right. I like it. I'm going Alex Palou because I always do. First round pick is Palou. This is the first time I think one of us actually have Palou this year, right?
I had him at Thermal.
Okay.
No, I had him at Long Beach too.
Okay.
And St. Pete. So yeah, I had him until you started catching on.
Okay. But yeah, I'm going Palou. I love the Joseph pick. I think this is the one chance the rest of the year that you'll see Colton Herta potentially have a shot, but that's if he doesn't crash. I did think about it.
Not that long. I didn't think about that long, but
yeah. So if Colton Herta wins, I wouldn't be shocked. But again, if he crashes, I also would not be shocked.
Yeah.
I'm curious, if I would have picked Joseph, who would you have gone with next? Palou?
Scott McLaughlin.
McLaughlin? Okay.
Yeah. I think he finished 2nd there last year.
He did.
And he's been really good. I mean, he's been really good on the permanent road courses. So
yeah.
And Penske, Penske just has so much speed right now. So I'm just like, I want to go with Penske right now. I don't know. But Ganassi and Penske seem to take turns. They've been taking turns with every race this year. So Ganassi's probably going to win, which means you're going to win. And then I'm going to lose my points lead. Yay!
Yay!
I don't know.
Joseph can finish 2nd, though.
Ganassi's won the last 2 races there, I think. I don't know if Penske's actually won there since they've come back, but they've been fast. So I'm like, okay, this is fine. They've finished
different time of the year for Laguna Seca, too.
Yeah. So
that might change it up a little bit.
Yeah. We'll see. It's the last race before the hybrids, too. So,
true. Yeah.
Because Mid-Ohio, they're supposed to start the hybrids, unless they're like, JK. We're not ready, actually. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that, that's the end of another episode. And you guys can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or you can leave a kind comment. And over on YouTube. And Zach, would you like to read this week's kind comment?
From Nike Visor 54. Hard name, by the way. Love that name. They say, I don't remember how I stumbled across y'all. I don't even watch NASCAR, not into motorsports, but the vibes of this podcast are so immaculate that I remain tuned in.
That's so cool.
Bro does not even watch motorsports, but he will just watch our podcast just for the vibes.
Love it.
He has no idea who we're talking about. Or they. I don't know what their gender is. But
we're just talking about random men, and they're just like, you know what?
Yep. I eat this
I'm gonna tune in. Yes.
I eat this up.
That's so cool.
I love it. Thank you so much. You should.
Thank you.
What race should they watch if they want to try racing? What race is coming up that's a good watch? Because I don't think New Hampshire or Laguna Seca.
Not this weekend. Don't watch this weekend.
I don't know.
I mean,
maybe Chicago Street Course. Nashville might be okay. Honestly, any of the NASCAR NBC races, I feel like would be kind of cool to watch. So,
yeah.
IndyCar might be a little boring, especially if it's like your first race, because you might not understand all the strategy. But
yeah, I would have said Road America, but that already happened. The Indy 500 as well. That already happened as well. So
Iowa's coming up soon for IndyCar. So
true. Maybe Iowa. Yeah.
Maybe Iowa or
You can watch Joseph win. We talk about him all the time. You already know him
Dude, listen. If Joseph Newgarden was in a cup car last night, we're talking about a different winner today. I'm going to tell you what. That man does not lose at Iowa. You can put him in a go-kart and he'll win. I'm just saying. He'll win.
Penske should have put him in a car.
At Iowa Speedway?
Even if it was an Xfinity, like something, it would have been awesome.
As I've been racing at Iowa this week on iRacing, I keep the clip of Lee Diffie saying, Newgarden thinks he's at Iowa Speedway. That's been playing in my head over and over and over. When he made like an outside pass at Indy. Yeah. Oh my God, that was such a good call, Lee. Oh.
All right. And you can also leave us a 5 stars on Spotify. You can use code GRP217 on Home Field Apparel for 15% off your first purchase. We both got some cute shirts. I posted mine on socials. Yeah, we should have. Maybe next week we'll do that. Or
did you post your shirt?
I posted mine on socials. I got to post Twitter and Instagram. Yeah. We'll check our social media and see how cute we look in these cute shirts from Home Field Apparel. That's GRP217 for 15% off your first purchase at Home Field Apparel. Support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/GayRacingPod. You can ask us questions for an upcoming guest. This week, we have another guest on. You can find out who it is by subscribing on Patreon now. It
should be up on Friday, I guess. It should be up on Friday on Patreon. So yes. I'm very, very excited. Somebody that works in NASCAR. So very excited about it.
It's going to be such a fun and big episode, I think, as well. Mm-hmm. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on socials at Gay Racing Pod, at Dreamy Zack Racing, and at Newgaden.
Follow me to check out my banger iRacing paint schemes, by the way. I designed some GRP paint schemes.
Yes.
Actually, wait. Let me show it right now. Oh my God, I can do that. I forgot I can do that.
And if you do play iRacing and you see a Gay Racing Pod car, it is probably Zack.
It is probably me. Wait, look at this banger. This banger paint scheme. The chrome numbers. I cooked.
Zack has been working on this. I'm like, I would text Zack, do you want to hang out? Do you want to play a game? He's like, no, I'm making my scheme. I'm like, oh, you're busy. You're cooking.
I'm in the kitchen. Screw you.
You've been making some amazing paint schemes. I love that you're back into that right now. Like you're Slay of the Week to Zack. Because
getting iRacing was the best thing I've done in a long time.
You're so talented. Do you know that? Like that is so. It looks so good.
That was actually a really nice compliment that you gave me earlier when you said you're just so talented. I'm just like, no one said that to me in a long time.
You are like, oh my God, look at the shit you're pushing out. Like that's awesome.
All right, y'all. We will see you guys next time to talk about Laguna Seca in New Hampshire. Peace out. Lobster. I don't know. Corn.
Lobster.
We're going from corn to lobster.
All right. God.